Ich heiße Sie herzlich willkommen, liebe Zuhörerinnen und Zuhörer, zu unserer neuesten Episode von Maikes Raumzeit, live von der AWS Reinvent 2025 in Las Vegas. Da mein Gesprächspartner englischsprachig ist, wird diese Episode jetzt auch auf Englisch geführt und ich wechsle daher. Today I'm joined by someone who is shaping the future of customer service and customer experience in a very real way. Pasquale DeMaio, Vice President and General Manager of Amazon Connect at AWS. Under his leadership, Connect has become one of the fastest growing services in AWS and a driving force behind more proactive, personalized and AI-supported customer service. In this episode, we talk about the evolution of Amazon Connect, the gentle continuum between humans and AI, and how companies can move from reactive support to truly predictive and frictionless customer experiences. I'm very excited for our conversation today, so let's just dive in with the first question. And my first question is more a personal question to start with for listeners who might not know you yet. Who are you and what do you lead at AWS with Amazon Connect?
Hey. My name is Pasquale DeMaio. Some people call me PQ, and I work at Amazon, AWS on Amazon Connect, which is really what has become an AI solution for driving exceptional customer engagement.
So you spent many years, let's say, or much of your career improving customer and agent experiences. What originally drew you into this field and what keeps you excited about it today?
Two things drew me into it. One, I discovered that some folks inside of Amazon had built some amazing technology that I thought had incredible potential to be able to improve both customer and agent experiences. As you noted, I'm very passionate about that. And two, the second thing is I'm very passionate about helping people. And most people in this industry have some part of that is just like the core to their being, is that they love helping people, whether that be agents, whether that be managers, whether they be like VPs of the customer service.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazon Connect, we heard it in one of the keynotes, has become one of the fastest growing services in AWS, as I heard lately. What do you think resonated most with customers and made Connect such a success?
You know, we've been through a number of inflection points where Freelance has been lucky to be able to lead the way. The very first one was we got pretty early on cloud, and then we were good at cloud, AWS. And so we got to sort of stand on the shoulders of giants there, where we were able to deliver a contact center that was more cloud forward and architected from the ground up, right out of the door. The other thing we did very early on was we launched with AI integrated natively into the product versus having to go get it from somewhere else.
Okay, I see.
And that started back in 2017. It seems insane to say that, no, but it was very basic back then.
Yeah.
Since then, we started to add more capabilities and doing more things like understanding conversations, helping assist agents. And then starting this year, we were very quick to say we should just make this incredibly simple by making AI just a default experience everywhere from the beginning of the conversation, or even figuring out if a customer might want to have a conversation, all the way back as a concierge, solving any problems it can on its own, but often bringing in agents into the situation and then helping the human being be better at being a human being and making the technology go away.
Yeah.
And this approach, with the advent of agentic AI and the large language models, is now really bearing fruit, because everywhere across that experience, we're able to use the benefits of the reasoning and the understanding from the large language models with deterministic AI workflows where they make the most sense. And then aiding the agents and really understanding what they're trying to do and getting out of the way so that they can, again, focus on the people and building those relationships. And what this is causing is a fundamental shift in the way people think about customer service. And this, you asked me before, what has me the most excited. 2 years ago, I was telling people, you really want to start getting out of average handle time and things like that, and containment, and into a mental model of how are we building a relationship with a customer that keeps them loyal and loving of the services you're delivering for them. And customers are getting more and more demanding, and it's harder and harder to get their attention. And if you look at something like, you always already had Google and Facebook and folks like that who are getting, distracting folks from maybe interacting with you. And then ChatGPT even further now is doing that, right? It's harder and harder to reach your customer.
Absolutely.
So if they contact you and you're trying to get rid of them, that's the wrong attitude. And now people are embracing this idea, and the technology we're delivering with Connect is really helping them to do that.
Mm-hmm. So if you cut it short in a sentence, a couple of words, what's the biggest shift compared to the early days of Connect and now from contact centers, how they actually interact with the customer?
Well, I have less and less customers coming to me and saying, "Hey, I just have to improve average handle time, and I just have to get more containment." And what they are saying now is, I want to fundamentally change the conversation I have with my customer, and I want to be able to change the way I talk about that with my CEO, because the CEO has to buy into the idea that customer service is going to be different.
Yeah.
Now, the good news is, because of all of the advances in LLMs and like things like Novasonic with our speech-to-speech, we're actually able to help really support that conversation in areas that the CEO gets very excited about, as opposed to just being a cost-based compromise. The other thing is, by building all the AI into Connect and taking away the need to have to buy it separately and pay for token and all that and allotments. Instead, Connect is just one low price and you have all you can eat AI. And what that means is that customers don't have to make those cost-based compromises. They can just use it where it makes the most sense, the way it makes the most sense to help.
Well, if we dive now into the technical foundation a bit more, we heard about all the technologies, episodic memory, if I'm not mistaken. You said about the Novasonic and predictive insights. How do all these agentic capabilities enhance what Amazon Connect can deliver?
So we built a couple of foundational capabilities that are really important to extracting the value out of AI in the real world.
Okay.
And Amazon Connect has always been about real world results, not just saying AI. And I think that is actually really important to note. And the way we've done that is a couple of things. First, we made it possible to have access to the customer's data. We need customers' data from the very beginning. And this year we have moved a team into my organization from another part of Amazon that was doing nothing but understanding how to understand what people might want based on their history and what they're doing in real time. And so now we're making that a part of Amazon Connect.
Okay.
And so the very first version of that just shipped this week. So now we can help predict when a customer might need help or might want to do something different even before they contact you.
Okay.
And that can be really important for obvious reasons. One, it might stop them from having a problem. Two, it might thinking about leaving even begins to help make them understand why they might want to stay before they've already made the decision to call you and leave.
Yeah.
At that point, you've already lost the argument. It's way too late. So all the way starting from before even a contact might have happened into the contact now, we've got Novasonic there. We have included Novasonic speech-to-speech in Connect, and fully you can do 100% agentic if you wanted to. You could also do 100% human if you wanted to.
Okay.
But we've made it very easy to use deterministic AI in workflows as well, so you can move into the agentic world at their own pace in a way it's safe with the right guardrails and protections and security. And certain things don't make sense to be agentic. I don't know that there's a lot of value in a payment processing that's agentic. I mean, so why would I want to do that if you just do it very inexpensively and have it do it right the same way every time, and in a way my security team can sign off on and everything like that. Meanwhile, I might want to have a very interesting conversation about a customer to understand more about what they might be interested in, and that's something that's wonderful to do with agentic. Maybe even changing an address is safe and can work very well.
Yeah.
And then on the other end, there's a lot of stuff that human beings are just really good at. That empathy, that ability to emote, the ability to understand certain complex problems, to really get what's going on. But when you bring AI into it, you can also then use that to understand the problem, maybe more from a technical perspective, where we can look at what the capabilities of the system are. AI can understand that really well. And then it can literally bring those and hand them to the agent to be able to take action. And again, get them out of the world of trying to fight with the technology, and instead have the technologist literally walk them through every step of solving your problem. But the human being is bringing the human touch to it, the human judgment, the human knowledge, and that emotion, empathy.
Yeah, bringing together to do best skills in both worlds, let's say.
Exactly.
Yeah. We heard as well Amazon Quick Suite is bringing AI-driven, let's say, inside workflows into the business. How does this complement?
Yeah. We tend to be more focused on customers and workflow that's designed for these high volume experiences, and the Quick Suite, which we can definitely get you more data on too, is really focused on trying to understand data from across the enterprise more for a knowledge worker kind of space. And we can give you probably a little bit of better soundbite on that, but I would say that I'm not the full expert there, but I use QuickSight myself to do some interesting things. And I'll give you an example of one that I thought was really fun, which was after I gave my talk this week, I actually fed in my talk to the AI and then had it tell me how I did.
Okay, yeah.
And so instead of it trying to do my talk for me, which I think you get that work slop. Everyone's so frustrated with. I actually use it to try and improve my ability and think critically about what I could do better. And then, and it was complimentary, which was nice, but it also was willing to give me some things. And also looking at what it said, I made my points. I could see places where had I done a good job or had it maybe not done as good a job. And so next time I'll do even better, which I thought was pretty cool.
Improving the skills already. If we dive into more the human and AI collaboration that you mentioned, you often describe the future as a gentle continuum between humans and AI. What does that look like for you exactly? And can you precise it a bit?
Yeah, I mean, from my standpoint, I see AI as a concierge. It's really helping think about as a create a team environment. And in this case, sometimes the team is just a person who's an employee, and the AI who's supporting them, maybe almost like a player coach model where the employee is sort of guiding the AI, but the AI is helping do things on its own, using some of the things it's able to pull data from all over the enterprise and understand things, slice and dice things in ways a human being might find very hard to do because the sheer scale of it. And then presenting that back to the person. In the customer service and customer engagement arena, there's a third team member, which is the end customer. And when we talk about it at Amazon.com with their customer service, we tell the agents, treat the customer the way you would treat a friend.
Yeah.
And that sets a mental model of like, I want to have an interaction there that is going to be one where we're both trying to have a great outcome together. And AI can be a third party to that, also helping create that outcome.
You mentioned before the more proactive side of customer service, but though many companies still operate pretty reactively, I say, how does Amazon Connect help them towards more this proactive or predictive customer service?
Sometimes the easiest way to do it is to think about proactive in reaction to some event, because you might not be quite ready to say, I want to go reach out to customers that way. But but when someone reaches out to you, they're probably doing it for a reason. I mean, no one's sitting around saying, boy, I can't wait to call customer service.
Yes.
I can't wait to have a chat.
Rarely, no.
Something's going on. And as a business, you probably have a good idea of what that thing might be. And so when you think about that, what I would say is, are you leaving that information on the ground and not using it? Well, let us help you gather the information. And so we have the personalized conversation I talked about before. We're pulling all the customer data together. We can match and merge that, so you can pull it from all the different systems. And so we get very good match rates. And then we can also take clickstream data. That's another thing we created. We announced at reInvent this year, and bring that together. And then also we can be listening to the conversation, actually interacting with the customer. And with all that information, when someone calls up, instead of saying, hi, how can I help you? Which most customers interpret as, you're absolutely not going to help me. And so instead ask, I see your flight was delayed, or I see you have an open base, or maybe even there's multiple things going on. I say, hey, I see you just bought a new device, and you also changed your service plan. Are you calling about either of those things? Now, as a human being, when you hear that, it fundamentally changes your experience and makes you think, okay, maybe this is worth interacting with here, and I can get a very fast solution to my problem potentially. But if the problem is more complex or requires human touch, then I'll have all the context will go right to the human, so the human won't have to ask him the same questions again. Yeah. Instead, they can dive right in.
You just mentioned clickstream. Can you say a couple of words more, please, about that?
Yeah, we've integrated some third-party clickstreams, and so that folks can actually pull that data of what's happening there in real time to understand what the customer was doing before they had the contact. And that's pretty useful for just trying to predict what they might be calling about or chatting about. We're just at the beginning of this journey, though, because I think what we really want to do is understand, what the customer is trying to get from an outcome with every bit of information we can have about them from our history with them. And I can, even the simple things of like, thank you for being a card member for 10 years. It acknowledges that they actually have to know something about you. Yeah. And so you're not talking to something dumb and it's not going to help you. But most companies have just been scratching the surface of this. But when you think about AI being able to take data from, what the interaction you've had, maybe you've been sitting in a cart, maybe you've been looking at a couple different options. Maybe you've literally been, hovering over, I want to cancel, And so if I have that information, plus I have the information from my previous experience with you, maybe I see that you bought something 6 months ago and you haven't really ever used it. they have no interaction history. Well, that's actually quite a bit of information about that thing. And now I would say proactively, you probably should reach out to that customer before they reach out to you. But even if you did, you say, you might say, hey, I noticed you hadn't used that. One of the things you might offer, I think, is I could give you some great tips on how you might use that or get value, or I can help you get that set up right now. And if the person says, no, I'm calling about something else, you can change and pivot to whatever that thing is. And one of the nice things about the generative AI is, even though some of the things they might pivot to, like, changing a beneficiary or something like that, might be something you want to be very careful with and pass on to a human being, the generative AI very quickly can say, oh, I understand what you're asking for, and now I can pass that on with all the context and even hand the person the right interface, the right, steps to go make that change. And then the human being will be able to do that. And again, if they have the tool sitting right in front of them, they're all tabbing, they're going to be focused on you, not focused on the technology.
Yeah.
And they won't make cut and paste mistakes and all sorts of other things.
Yeah. I mean, I understand you're saying context is everything, but with that, having a customer on the phone, time is crucial. The impression. How do you understand then this, I call it now, the real-time data in this case as well, and all the understanding coming together in order for the agent to be?
It is, Larry, I feel like I could have asked you to ask me that question. So one of the big reasons why we built the capabilities and to connect to have the customer understanding, we call it customer profiles, but the customer understanding is because people were really struggling with that. And a big part of it, as you just noted, was the performance. It was really tough because if you don't have it at your fingertips, you don't have it. And so we wanted to make something that was incredibly scalable and highly performant. Now, luckily, Amazon those are things we tend to be pretty good at. And so that actually was a nice way for us to take that and make that very easy for customers to get the benefit of. And so now we're really starting to reap the rewards of that because that is providing that context that you noted. That is a key way that we can really empower a customer. A business, I should say, in this case, to be clear, to be able to move much more quickly through this world. And it's amazing how much we can help people create then the implementations with the generative AI, with the Novasonic or with just an LLM based agents to then very quickly take that context in what the person is telling you at once and actually act very quickly. And as you said, time is really important here. But the other thing is we're cutting so much of the waste out because we're not wasting time doing other stuff that wasn't valuable, that actually, even though this is a much more impactful and deep and from a mental standpoint, a longer conversation, from a time standpoint, it actually is a shorter conversation often.
Okay. Yeah.
And the other thing about it is, as you go through some of these things, the AI doesn't get bored or tired. It doesn't mind to think about the problem as it goes and revectoring and thinking, oh, this could be, this is what we could do to help here. I would say if I think about a lot of the conversations I've had with agents in the last 6 months, still even, likely mostly with customers who aren't using Connect, but those are slow conversations because it's not implementing this stuff that is in some ways making the conversation deeper and more broad and more interesting is actually still longer because the agent's sitting there struggling with the technology to get the answer. I mean, how many times is it, let me put you on hold, or you hear them, or you just grab this moment where you hear them breathing, you can actually hear them being frustrated. So we went out of that world.
Yeah. But nevertheless, it sounds for me more on being on the reactive side once the customer calls. You mentioned before they call, actually, how do actually then the proactive customer journeys look like and change the way companies view customer service? Maybe then the shift from cost center to value center? I don't know.
Yeah, another thing we shipped to this reInvent was actually the ability to create, we'll call them campaigns. Or journeys sometimes. I want to be very careful because these I think are more powerful and less just about the kind of legacy of trying to just market something to you.
Yeah.
It's more about thinking about what the customer needs and then also making sure you're being responsive to what they're likely to want. So building the tools to proactively contact them, but not contact them at the wrong time. And thinking about things that are going to be potentially more about creating a relationship than just that legacy of, a million emails in your spam folder, but instead ones that are pertinent to exactly what you want. And again, it's so if you think, hey, I sent you a credit card and you haven't activated it and your old credit card is going to stop working, you're going to be pretty frustrated when you finally go to the grocery store and try and buy some food and the credit card doesn't work. So I should reach out to, if maybe I send you an email and say, hey, by the way, you really need to activate that credit card. as I get closer, maybe I want to text you because like, hey, if you don't activate this credit card and, I see you're still using it, but you're not activated, I don't want this to not work next time you out. And then finally, maybe I should call you. Maybe even I would use a human being to say, is there something wrong? Is there some reason why you're not doing this?
Okay, I see. Yeah.
And I can offer things like, do you need us to send you another one? Or is it something about the activation process? Or are you questioning the value of the credit card? Maybe you're thinking when it expires, you're not going to use it anymore. That would be that. How can I help you understand what the value was? And or maybe I should help you get a different credit card. All those things become possible. You want to make sure you're doing that in an artful way that isn't like overwhelming the person with bombarding them with 5,000 messages. As soon as they do the right thing to activate the credit card, for example, stop contacting them, stop bugging them, right? And so that's why I say these tools, I think we want to use them in a more thoughtful way than were before. Yeah. But having all this stuff come together and from this and coming from the mental model of how am I building a relationship with the customer, that experience starts to be one that's more enjoyable and less scanny.
But all this implicates kind of a change or a shift in what customer service is, how it functions, and what at the end of the day the job of an agent looks like. Meaning, what have you learned, or how are you helping customers to kind of shift successfully and with the team with new skills or trainings?
My conversations usually go take two paths around that. The first path is I try to give them some idea of what we think is possible, that are really possible for them, so they can understand and I kind of open their mind to like this is the playground you might be able to operate in, which is kind of exciting for most of them. And then I also recognize they work in a company or sometimes a large corporation that doesn't have process and silos that they're going to have to manage. And so then I say to them, I'll ask them sometimes, say, well, what would it take to actually support you to change the conversation in the company? Would it be that you could share some of these ideas with some of your colleagues? Is it talking to, your CEO to understand, or your chief revenue officer to understand how you might work better together? Would it be, how do we talk to your CISO about making sure we're not exposing data in ways that aren't safe? And then we help provide them the information and the documentation and everything that backs up how that might work. And even sometimes we'll train them to show them how they can make some of these magical moments so they can demo them themselves. Turning these folks a little bit into their own sales people to be able to be someone who's driving forward this new vision for how customer service could be way better. Customer engagement be way more enjoyable and interesting for the customer and for the business. And like folks' eyes light up when you have this conversation because they've been wanting to do this for a long time.
I can imagine.
It's all back to the technology. And so, but you have to, I try to do a lot of listening in those conversations too, which is hard because I get so excited. But I try to do a lot of listening in those conversations to learn from them. And everyone's a little bit different, but a lot of the problems are pretty similar and a lot of the opportunities are similar. And I can tell you, we get these advocates in these companies that are so excited in there. And like, I feel like they're like on the cheer squad making us, to want to go make us successful together. And that's why I get up in the morning. You ask me about why I'm still in the business. And I can tell you, my team is like, we're just a mission-driven bunch. Like, if I look at the folks who came over when we first started the project, there were 17 people who volunteered to come try and do this, take the internal stuff we'd built for Amazon and make it an external AWS service. And of those 17 people, I think 8 or 9 of them are still on the team more than 10 years later. Oh, yeah. Wow. And there are a lot of them have become senior leaders. Yeah. They've grown as people. They've had kids. They've gotten married. But we're all still here getting us, on this mission to go make customer service better. And, I think about that a lot in my day to day. And I wake up and I think I'm so blessed to have a job that lets me do this, to have the opportunity that technology and things like Novasonic and all the other AI innovations and the tools that the folks who I met had built before I even got there, that we then turned into a solution, that all those things that I was lucky enough to land at that spot has been just a revelation for me. And that's, that's a duplicate going into work every day.
It's nice. You share the mission actually in the team then. Yeah. But is that kind of as well then what I hear, the cultural or operational change that kind of in companies that's needed to kind of pave the way of modern customer engagement, customer service? It's not just technology actually. It
is. It's a mental model. But part of the mental model is the fact you think you can do it. And so what we've really had to do with Connect is to make it much simpler. And I think I'll say something that is sort of can't be over thought through, which is you have to make it so that it's as easy as just turning it on
Yeah.
and doing some configuration. And then you have to make it so that it all works together. You're not dropping the ball in different stages. I mean, if something asks you, hey, tries to authenticate you or asks you what your problem is, and then the very next step something else asks you, and then a human being asks you, then the next human being asks you, they all might have incredible insight on that. But if they're not sharing it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The data and the metrics underneath it don't actually become available to everyone across that. And even after the conversation's over, then you can't do it. And then finally, so many people have been constrained by pricing and cost because the cost structure has been so weird and in some cases so expensive. So we tried very hard to make it both extremely economical, but also very easy to understand and take away the part where, well, if I use more, am I going to get charged for it? No, use it everywhere because you're going to just get so much value from it. And naturally, these folks aren't going to try and use the system to get free AI. What they're going to do is solve wrong. So I'm not worried about any kind of that, being an issue for us.
Yeah.
So we took that risk and, we've been able to build a product that is, I think is very capable at a price that I think a lot of folks thought was kind of impossible.
Yeah.
And I just yesterday, a customer thanked me. They said, thank you so much for bringing this one product because now I don't have to argue with procurement. And with the approval process of all this other stuff is that we just do it, and it's solved all these problems for me in all these conversations, and now they're empowered. And this person was someone who was like, you can feel the pain of what they were going through before. And so sometimes the way you package and deliver a product actually is a huge difference in how people think about using the product and then how you enable them to use it.
Yeah. If we fast forward a couple of years, what do you think will be completely normal in customer service then, and it's still maybe surprising today?
I think the biggest thing that's going to change is that people are going to interface with companies differently, and the companies that recognize that that's going to happen because of the event of things like ChatGPT, Claude, and CurseWeek, and all these things that people are doing are going to start to create a place where either businesses are really good at reaching to their customers and building those relationships that make the customer value it, or they get left behind and they just become option A, option B, option C, and who cares what the name of the business is? It just says this interest rate or this price. And maybe 5-star rating or something, right? And that is not where any business that is offering real value wants to be.
Yeah.
And so I think that fundamentally, people ask me, well, who's your competition? I say my competition is the people who are going to try and make the companies that choose to partner with us to deliver great customer service unable to do so. That's the competition.
Yeah.
Getting ahead of that so we can continue to deliver amazing outcomes for customers while other folks are where that challenge comes up. And I don't worry about anybody else except how we serve that end customer to make that great, because that will keep that customer engaged with that brand, engaged with that company, and building a relationship. And I do see this happening in the industries and real world places where some of our customers, places where people, have very difficult and challenging things. Like an energy company told me they're using our AI. Centrica actually said we're using AI to detect people who are at risk for energy problems due to their income and acting on behalf of the agent, but the agent doesn't have to do anything because they might not catch the cues, and that's fundamentally changing the way they engage now. I mean, does that not make you want to go buy energy from Centrica? They see why is it? So I think that's those are the kind of compelling stories that I think are signaling a real change in the industry.
Thank you very much, Pasquale, for diving with us into Amazon Connect and the future of customer service and customer engagement. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is great. I really appreciate it.